Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 40 of the Survival Project. Today, I'm joined by Liv Moore. At just 22 years old, Liv was told she would need permanent stoma after she was diagnosed with an incredibly rare condition called hypoganglionosis, a disorder that left her bowel unable to function properly. What followed after that was a journey filled with fear, uncertainty, and life-changing decisions. Instead of letting it define her in a negative sense, Liv literally rebuilt her life from the ground up. In this conversation, we talk about receiving a rare diagnosis, coming to terms with a permanent stoma at such a young age, sense of identity and body image that comes up, actually recovering from the surgery, and then progressing further in fitness, Hyrox races, all to the point where now Liv is training for an ultramarathon. And she's doing it all, sharing her learnings on social media. Let's get into it. Liv, thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to the Survival Project.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. So for anyone who's listening, would you mind diving into your story for us?
Yeah, so I'm Liv with a Stoma. See me on Instagram and TikTok. Essentially, I have a condition called hypoganglionosis, which started back in April 2024. Essentially, what's happened is my rectum no longer works. So I was unable for quite a long period of time to have a normal bowel movement without the use of medication like enemas, bisocodal, quite strong laxatives. It started off when I was in Vietnam traveling at the time. I was 3 months into my travels and I got to the point where I realised I'm not going to the toilet. And I remember ringing my mum at the time and I said to her, I was like, Mum, I can't use the toilet. And she was like, what are you eating? Are you drinking enough? Questions that any mum would normally ask. And she was like, go to the pharmacy. So I went to this pharmacy in the middle of, I think I was in Hanoi at the time. Bearing in mind, they don't speak English. I'm presenting myself with Google Translate. And I cannot go to the toilet. I haven't been for a poo for 6 days or something. And as I showed the pharmacy man, he read it and straight away he looked at me and was like, okay, let's try this. So he gave me a bisocodal. He didn't just give me one packet. He gave me I came out of that pharmacy with 180 bisocodal tablets and they were £2. So, I mean, it's quite cheap. But yeah, anyway, I started having to rely on those whilst I was travelling. And I'm sure anyone who's had them before knows it's quite a harsh laxative, a little bit it's either all go or no go. There's no control over that. But yeah, anyway, flew back to the UK. Thought maybe I'll just give my belly some time to regulate. I thought maybe the pressure of traveling, things like that. Nothing kind of eased off, nothing changed. So I did go to the GP and presented with my symptoms, told my story. They thought maybe I picked up some bug from all the different food I'd been eating or places that I'd travelled. And we kind of left it as come back in a couple of months if it's not improved. Obviously, nothing changed. And I think I went back to the GP 6 or 7 times. Every time saw a different person, said the same story, presented with the same stuff, and they gave me I tried everything, lactulose, Laxido, you name it, I've tried it, and again nothing was working. And it took until Christmas 2020. It was the 27th of December. I'd obviously eaten all over Christmas and hadn't been to the toilet, and I think I got to day 9 and I was so uncomfortable that I had to call 111. They then sent me from my house to a clinic to be seen. And obviously I'm a young girl presenting with a very bloated stomach. Instinct was, she's pregnant. And I was like, absolutely not. I was like, guys, I've not been to the toilet. And the man was looking at me. He was like, no, we need to do a pregnancy test. And I was honestly in there there is no chance. I just need the toilet. And that's all I kept saying the whole time was, I just need the toilet. That's it. So they sent me to ED. I spent 16 hours in ED where they gave me enemas, which I had before, the odd few that I'd been prescribed. But it got to that point after that day that I was then starting to rely on them daily, which is not a nice experience for anybody.
Horrible, yeah.
But they scanned me when I went to ED and my whole entire bowel was just full of shit completely. Completely full. Like, honestly, the doctor was like, I don't know how you've not perforated. He was like, don't eat anything, don't eat anything. But yeah, so they cleared me out that night, and then I was back in there again like 4 days later, because obviously it then only just some of it started to then shift down again. So then they had to give me more enemas in ED, and then they referred me to gastro. I got a letter basically saying it's 46-week wait. And I was like looking at my mum, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, how am I going to survive like this for 46 weeks? And fortunately, we were in a position where, like, my grandma, bless her, love her, she honestly has completely saved my life. But we went down the route of going privately. And as soon as we did that, I got tested. I went through like a shape study where you essentially swallow like little beads, and they've got like tablets that have got like hundreds of little beads in. I did that and then got scanned, and all of them were shown in my rectum. So then when I went back to see the doctor, instantly he was like, I think you might have Hirschsprung's, but obviously you're born with that. So he was like, maybe you've developed like late onset Hirschsprung's. So I got tested for that through a rectal biopsy. That he essentially just cut some of my rectum and sent it to Bristol, and then it got sent to Oxford because, I don't know, the doctors were all like, oh, let's have a look, like see what's going on. And then it took ages, like 3-4 weeks, that part, just because he wanted to make sure it was obviously right before, you know, he tells me that I've got to have a stoma. So yeah, I got brought back into the hospital, and then he just sat me down and was like, the only thing I can do for you, Olivia, is give you a stoma. And I think that was the real moment that I was like, shit, like, this is it now. Like, there's nothing else he can do, which was, yeah, quite a lot to process. But I mean, I'd had the chat with my mum because my mum's a nurse. So like, we'd kind of already spoken a little bit about options and like what she thought would happen, and what she thought was obviously what has then happened. So yeah.
My God, what a journey.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that as a condition existed until I spoke to you. That is wild. And
Neither did I.
I imagine it's quite rare. It's not something
Yeah.
I've heard of before. Yeah.
I
So
haven't met anyone else
well,
that
you must feel
has.
so lucky.
Yeah.
I just want to. Yeah, it's so horrible to go through something, especially when you're not getting answers. And as you said, when your biopsy was sent to Oxford as well, you're kind of thinking, why does someone else need to have a look at it? Why can't they give any
Yeah.
answers? There's such fear and uncertainty that comes with these conditions. How long were you suffering before they eventually said that you might need a stoma?
I think it was 8 to 9 months.
So quite a quick
Yeah.
turnaround.
Yeah. I think that definitely the turnaround was quick because we did go down the private route. And what scares me is the fact that if I'd have waited the 46 weeks, at the moment now, I would have only have been, I think, 6 weeks post-op. And then when I look back at what I've done already, it's terrifying. Like, all that life I would have missed out on.
Access to the correct care at the right time is life-changing completely. You
Yeah.
would have spent the last 40 weeks or whatever, 50 something weeks in horrendous pain with a life-limiting illness. Like, it would have been detrimental to your physical and mental health. Maybe you wouldn't be here. God knows what could have happened. It could have been an absolutely horrendous situation. Just because it was such a quick turnaround. It's very rare that you hear of someone who gets a stoma in such a quick, short space of time with conditions, unless it's maybe cancer related or like a stabbing or something like that. So I myself, I had 6 to 8 years of refusing it before it actually happened. So I had a lot of time to process it in a sense, even though I still leading up to it, even though I had so much time and my life was being destroyed with Crohn's disease, I still said I'd rather be dead than end up with a stoma bag. So when you were first told that you might end up with a stoma bag, what was going through your mind?
It was the thought of like, is this the right decision? And being 22 at the time and being told that it's likely I'd never have it reversed, I was like, do I want to live like this for the rest of my life? And I think the fact that there isn't the most positive view on stoma life. I remember like looking on socials and talking to people, and I was a bit like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I can do this. And I was terrified. I remember just the day I got told, I just went home and I was crying. Cried for days. Like, even the word stoma would set me off. The word stoma would set my mum off. She'd start crying. And I was just completely terrified. I had no idea what life was going to look like. Like, I never could have imagined I could have done anything that I've done post-op. I wouldn't have thought that was even a possibility.
Post-op, you have been absolutely smashing it. I love watching your videos. Like when you just
Thank
sit
you.
down, you talk about Stoma life, you show all the stuff that you do, and you're smashing Hyroxes. Your fitness levels are off the chain. Like it's unbelievable to watch. So I know that we look at a lot of Stoma life. There's a lot of negative connotations that come with it. But seeing someone like yourself, a young woman who's out there absolutely living her best life, despite what she's gone through, is a fantastic thing for people to see. I know when it comes to body image and different things, were you always this big into fitness beforehand, or has it been a kind of bit of a change in your perspective and identity a little bit since the surgery?
So growing up, I was a competitive swimmer. So I have come from a fitness background. I used to compete for my county. I used to swim like 5-6 times a week. Like my dad was head coach. You know, we were all into swimming. COVID obviously hit. And I feel like COVID is such a big thing in everyone's life. It's such a big life-changing moment. But I stopped swimming and I kind of found it quite hard to navigate which way am I going to go. So I did get into a bit of strength training, bit of running, but nothing major. And then I think like the year leading up to all of this, I was really finding my fitness journey quite hard to navigate because I couldn't do it. I couldn't go running, couldn't do anything without either stopping my workout early because I was in so much pain, or just the fear of, you know, going out and stressing that maybe I need the toilet, maybe like my workout wouldn't go to plan because I wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, coming out of my op, it was like a full reset for me. And I feel like this is why Hyrox is so special to me, is because I'd never done that. Pre-Stoma Liv, one, know what a Hyrox was, two, would never have even signed up for it because I wouldn't be able to do it. Like, there's no way I could run 8K and done those exercises without needing the toilet. So that's why like Hyrox, I feel like has a very special part like in my heart now, because that's a post-op, like that's a Stoma Liv thing. But yeah, like coming out of an op, and I had no core strength after my operation. You know, you've had major surgery. And I remember going into the gym for the first time and I just sat on the floor on a mat and I was like practicing, like holding my breath and like all the core exercises. I started back from the beginning. Obviously, I had a nice figure and stuff like that beforehand, but like it was a start, like fresh start for me.
Yeah, fantastic. And I just want to speak on possibly the moment you woke up from surgery to the moment you got back into the gym, because your core gets destroyed with the surgery. Absolutely. And you have to rebuild it up from scratch. And as someone who was a competitive, excellent athlete beforehand, that must have been so tough to know that you'd put the work in. Obviously, it's great to have a good core going into your surgery and it puts you in a better position
Yeah.
than if you hadn't. But can you talk us through initially what went through your mind when you first woke up from that surgery?
I remember the very first moment, like I got wheeled back into the room. My mum was there. I burst out crying and she was, because obviously like you're pumped full of drugs and it's all very heightened emotions. And I looked at my mum and I was like, she was like, stop crying, Liv. And I was like, Mum, I can't do this. She was like, no, stop crying. She was like, this is it. And I remember, and I said back to her, I was like, this is it. I have to make this a positive. And I think that mindset has really helped my recovery. Like, if I was to have woken up and just been like, oh, my life's ruined, like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, none of what I've done now would have happened, because if you're in that mindset, what can you achieve, you know? You just have to kind of make the positive out of a bad situation.
Yeah, your mind is your power or it's your prison, and it's very easy for it to go either way. But I think when you focus on the positive and focus on the future and you say, right, this is where I am now, but I know what I've just been through. So I know how strong I am. So I know that whatever I want to achieve, I've seen the strength. I can put everything into action that I need to do. It's fantastic. I got chills there when you're saying that with the interaction with your mum. Like I was like, whoa, let's go. But it's beautiful to see the mindset that you had straight away after the surgery, because I know myself, I didn't have that mindset after the surgery. I went down a rabbit hole of couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I just thought my life is over. I didn't ask for this. Why do I have to go through it? So you're an amazing woman to have said straight away, watch me. Like that's
It's when
absolutely excellent.
it was the moment that we had a discussion pre-op with my doctor, and I was like asking him, I was like, am I going to be able to run again? Like, am I going to be able to swim? Am I going to be able to do anything? And he said to me, he was like, if you can run a marathon, you'll get through this surgery. And I looked over at my mum. My mum's such a big part of all of this. And I looked at her and I was like, I mean, I've never ran more than 20K, but I was like, I'm pretty sure if you put me up to the challenge, like, best believe I'm running that 42K. Like, and I think that was really the start of, like, there was no stopping me. And a lot of the questions, like pre-op, were obviously fitness related, because I love my fitness. And coming out of it, knowing, like, the nurses knew, like, I wanted to get back moving. And my mum works, like, with the stoma, not with the stoma nurses, but like they're on the same ward that my mum works on at the hospital. So they kept saying to my mum, like, keep an eye on her, like, make sure she's not doing too much too soon. And I got discharged the day after my op. And I think that was partly because obviously I had my mum to look after me, but also, like, I was up and walking the same night I had the operation. I was like, get me out this bed, like, I can't sit still. And I think they saw, like, I had ants in my pants, like, I wanted to get moving. And even, like, the day I got home, I was walking up and down the garden, and, like, my mum was like, I'm gonna have to put a lead on you, like, you need to calm down, like, slow down. But I think just knowing that I wanted to prove people wrong. Like, I wanted to prove to myself that, you know, you can do these things. Just because I have a stoma doesn't mean I can't, you know? Yeah. And that's, like, the message I want to give to people is, like, don't let your stoma stop you. It's just, it's there, but it doesn't mean you can't do these crazy things.
You got going and you didn't stop after the surgery. So yeah, you're inspirational to listen to how quickly you got back into it and was just like, look, I know what I want to do and I'm going to go and do it. When we've spoken there about maybe the kind of negative connotations that are sometimes seen around stomas from stuff online, from your own experience, what are the misconceptions that you possibly had before you got the stoma that now you say, well, that's not true?
I think a big one is smell. I thought it was going to stink all the time. Like, I thought I'd just be sat here now being like, oh my God, all I can smell is my stoma. But I think, like, the early days, for sure, it does smell. Like, there is no lie. Like, as soon as you come out from surgery, there is some beautiful smells when you do those first few bag changes. But, like, now I think I'm completely immune to it. I changed my stoma and I'm like, I don't even smell anything. Another thing would definitely be life is limited. I think people assume that you can't do anything when you've got a stoma, that you can't run, you can't travel, and that is definitely wrong. People seem to think like everyone's going to know that you've got a stoma, and I think that's definitely not the case. I get people come up to me in the gym and then we get talking and then they ask me, like, oh, like, how did you get into Hyrox? And I tell my story and people are like gobsmacked. They're like, wait, what? Like, you stood there right now, like, you have a stoma? And I'm like, yeah.
I think it's fantastic to be open with people about what we're going through, just to normalize everything. Because, you know, the more we talk about these things and the more we achieve while talking about these things, the more we make it seem like it's just going to be easier, or not even seem, but the more that we show that life is possible to continue, and even in a better direction than it possibly could have been before, because you no longer are burdened by the illness that was limiting your life. One thing that I want to kind of just touch on there is the idea that it is life limiting afterwards when you get it. I know the word disability is thrown around a lot, and in the legal sense, absolutely, you are differently abled, but I would say that putting labels on yourself all kind of starts in the mind. And if someone is to go around after surgery and feel, or even before surgery, think that they might become disabled because they have now got this stoma bag, I think it can be a little bit damaging on how it can change someone's mindset. So seeing people get out there and show that, look, you might be differently abled in a sense. We might now have to go to the bathroom differently, but it's not stopping me achieving anything. So it's a fantastic thing to get across to people.
I never use the word disabled.
Yeah, it's not for me.
Never. It's not for me either. Like, I just think you're so right. Like, put the label on it and instantly you've really shifted your mindset on it. And then you start to think, well, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I can't do this, because you've put that label on you. And I think that's a really, really key thing.
100%. A beautiful word that I've only come across lately, and it's called adaptive athletes. We do have to adapt.
They have that in Hyrox. I want to do that bit.
I'd never heard of it before. Yeah. And I was kind of wondering what does it entail? I don't know the full details it entails or who is involved and stuff like that. But I remember seeing him be like, yeah, still an athlete, no matter what, and you have adapted to whatever gets you back out on the field and gets you
Hmm.
competing. So I do love it. I really have to say that I do. So after your surgery, obviously your core has been essentially destroyed. Now you were very quick to get back in action, and there was no stopping you. But before the steps you took to get back into the gym, before you started lifting weights, there is always a risk with hernias afterwards. How did you build your core up from the start?
Well, I'm actually launching a program
Oh, let's go.
for this because it is such a big question, such a big topic, and I've basically got like a 4-step how I rebuilt my core, and it's honestly started by holding my breath, literally sitting on the floor, holding my breath for like seconds and then increasing that. I did a lot of like laying on my back, like practicing sitting up, because that was something I couldn't do after surgery. I remember I had one of those like U-shaped pillows, and that was behind me, and trying to get up from like laying flat on the bed, like to lay up, I could not do it. And it was just gradually like increasing that range of motion to then be able to sit up. And I spent an awful lot of time like just gradually building it. So like it went from holding my breath to then, I don't know, 3 weeks later, I started to then practice like sitting up from different supports, like had a cushion behind me. Then I came a bit further up, and just gradually built that. And then now I'm there being like doing planks and stuff, which I just find crazy. But
You're
yeah, it's definitely a gradual thing. You can't expect to wake up from surgery and then like 2 weeks later, like have six pack, have abs.
yeah.
Like that's not possible. But
Completely.
like it's starting right from the start. Like I know breathing probably sounds really stupid and you think, why is she in the gym practicing how to breathe? But like build the foundation first, then work on your strength.
Completely. And on the topic of breathing is so important after your surgery because your whole body gets put into such shock, and breath is a great way to kind of calm your nervous system and get back to center. One thing that I learned from my surgeon is like when we go in, organs that touch, they move around and they can become sticky. So afterwards, like a lot of massage, physical massage, first of all, on your abdomen to keep things flowing and keep things free, but also an internal type of massaging is by doing deep breath work and holding your breath. So it's very, very important to do that after surgery. And it's not something that's all that common knowledge because as you said yourself, it sounds a bit kind of nuts. You're thinking, why are you holding your breath? But it is genuinely internal massage and works on expanding the muscle. I think it's the fascia that would be underneath. So yeah, it's fantastic advice. When is this fantastic program going to be launched?
In the next few weeks.
Let's go.
I'm just finalising it. When you want to I would just want to get it right.
Absolutely.
Like there's a lot of pressure on this one for me. I
This
feel
is the
like
maiden
I've
voyage, yeah.
Yeah, it is, because I feel like I've really like worked on it, and that was such a big thing for me coming out of my op was like core strength, and I just want to make sure it's right before I go ping.
Well, judging by
this,
all the things
guys.
you achieve, yeah, it's definitely going to be 100% right. But probably by the time this goes out, it will be available. So I'll make sure and pop a link in the description for anyone that wants to check it out. You have also done quite a bit of traveling with your stoma. It's something that I love doing myself. Can you dive into that? Maybe the fears, first of all, in the first flight that you take, but how you've overcome them.
So the first flight I actually took was November. I went to Iceland with my best friend Olivia. Olivia and Olivia on tour. It was quite daunting, like, I'm not going to lie, because I've never travelled, obviously, with a stoma. Going through security, that time I was absolutely fine. Literally just, put your bag in, flew straight through, had no issues. It wasn't until I went to Dubai that the whole, like, I got stopped by that lady and she was like, what's on your stomach? Like, you're wearing a belt. And I was like, no, I have a stoma. And I'm stood in the middle of security like, I have a stoma. And I said it once. Then I said it twice. And she was like, no, you're wearing a belt. Like, you've got a belt on. And I was like, girl, like, I've got a stoma. And then I pulled my leggings down because she was like, we're going to have to go and take you in to get searched. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm not being searched because I've got a stoma. Like, that's not happening. And I remember like pulling my leggings. She saw my stoma bag and she was like, shit. Like, she felt so bad. And I was like, you should feel bad. Like, I shouldn't have to repeat more than once. But other than that, like traveling with a stoma, yes, it takes a bit more preparation for sure. Like you have to prepare for like worst case scenario. But like the first flight I took, I thought, oh, the stoma bag's going to inflate. Like it's going to explode. Like what's the air pressure? Yeah, I honestly had envisioned like a balloon like flying off into the air. And when I flew to Iceland, I must have checked my stoma bag hundreds of times. I kept like pulling and going, okay, yeah, it's still intact. Like it's still there, expecting it to have just flown off. But yeah, I mean, without my stoma, like I wouldn't be able to travel. So a little bit of extra prep, but that's literally it, really.
Completely. It doesn't stop you doing anything. You may have to do a little bit more thinking and pack a few little more supplies to get the job done. But
Yeah.
without the stoma, you are never getting on that flight. Do you know what I mean?
No.
So it's amazing to still be able to get the opportunity. You do have to do a little bit more work, but it doesn't stop you doing anything. So it's a fantastic thing to share with people. One thing that I want to dive into is you're very body positive, and you said you had a good figure from all the training you were doing beforehand. You've also shared photos on your social media with in a bikini with your bag out. Very, very confident. It was an amazing thing to do. For someone who is feeling not very body positive and they're afraid to kind of show off their stoma, what would you share with them?
Just do it. I know it sounds so scary, but like I know it sounds stupid because it's like I'm like just do it, but I kind of function in the way of if I hide from something, it becomes a bigger thing and it becomes worse, and then I won't then do it. So when I went to Dubai, that was the first time that I did wear a bikini, and I remember just putting the bikini on, looking at my sister, and I was like, I don't know if she can, like I don't know if I can do this. And then she looked at me and I was like, okay, I'm going. I just walked straight out of that changing room, and that was it. Like that was a moment I was just like, this is it. Like this is my reality. If someone's going to come up to me and be like, oh, what's that on your stomach? Then that's on them. And I think that's the biggest thing is like people are going to look, but people are curious. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's more curiosity than people actually like judging you.
Completely, because obviously I'm sure most of the population would see it and be like, I don't have a clue what that is, because it's not a very common thing. And obviously with someone like yourself who's so confident, it does normalize it a bit, because there could be someone who's on that beach as well, covering themselves up, and then seeing you so confident, that could change their life. Absolutely. Leading by example. One thing that I heard recently online is that embarrassment is an underexplored emotion, and that everything you want is on the other side of embarrassment. And I just think it absolutely fits the situation so well, because there can be that element of embarrassment and almost maybe a sense of shame in getting your bag out, of being judged and people thinking of you differently. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic thing to do. Just do it.
Just do it. That can be my motto. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so true though. I know if you overthink things, you then don't do it, do you?
Yeah, you got to get out of your own head.
You have to live in the moment. That's it. You do have to get out your own head. Like stoma surgery is a massive thing. And I mean, I want to wear my bikini because I want a nice suntan. So I'm not going to miss out on that just because I've got a stoma bag.
I want my tan lines coming back from Dubai, and my stoma's not getting in the way.
No way, no way.
If you're an amazing advocate, and you say things with such a smile and with such positivity, and you say things so eloquently, like I have to give you such credit. But has there been some really dark moments for you along the journey?
For sure. It's not been easy. And I think sometimes like I'm very cautious to show that side of it as well. Like I've had days where I'm crying and I'm like, why me? Like, why do I have to have a stoma bag? And a lot of the thoughts, like, especially when I'd just come out from my op, was like, I'm 22 years old with a stoma bag. Like, I should be out living my life, not stressing about carrying supplies with me every single day and stressing about like, am I going to have a leak and things like that. Like, there has been moments where you do just crumble, like, but it's an emotional roller coaster. And I always think like you might have 7 really good days with your stoma, and then you get a night like I had Sunday. My stoma exploded all over my carpet. Like in those moments, I could just crumble on the floor and cry. Yes, I really did want to cry that night. Like I've got beige carpet, there's poo on my carpet, and I've just raced the Hyrox. Like I'm exhausted. And instead of crying, like sometimes I pick up my phone and I record those moments, because I know that if I pick up the phone, I'll make a positive out of it, instead of then going, oh, this is the worst thing that's happened. Like I'm voice noting my group chat with my friends and I'm like, guys, I've got shit all over the floor. Like someone send me help. And then like they make a positive out of it. But yeah, there is definitely dark moments where you do just think to yourself, like, why me? But just always remember, like, there might be 7 good days, but 1 bad day. So it's like the positives outweigh the negatives for sure.
Completely focusing on the good, because the bad can be a hole, and if you continue down that hole, sometimes you stop seeing the light. So you have to focus on the good sides even when the bad times do come. But like when you're exhausted like that and something like that happens to destroy the carpet and you're thinking, I'm so tired, I just want to go to bed, and now I have to deal with this mess.
I just wanted to leave it, but I was like, I can't. And then the smell, and I was just there looking at it like, oh my gosh, why today?
I've had a few incidents like that myself over the years. Now, I've had my stoma since I was 19, so I've had it for 14 years, so less and less. I couldn't tell you the last time I had a leak. I couldn't tell you the last time I had any form of an accident.
Touch
It's not
wood.
Yeah, exactly. I'll literally turn this off and something will happen. But just like that, you just cannot tell what's going to happen day by day, and you just have to take it bit by bit.
It's so unpredictable. It's the one, people are like, what's stoma life like? And the first word that always comes to my head is unpredictable. You cannot plan anything.
In the same sense, I would say that the longer I have it, the more relatively predictable it becomes. But like that, there is a day where you just go, what is going on here?
I'm like, why now?
Because one thing as well, you were very young, same as myself when you got it. And obviously when we're at the age we're at, when these things happen, there's so many other social pressures that we're going on at the minute, where we want to go out, we want to enjoy ourselves. We see our friends out living their best lives, you know, and then you get put into this horrible situation and you're essentially fighting for your life and climbing back. So for any girl who's maybe in the similar position to you, she's feeling really sick, they've floated the idea that a stoma might be in her future, what would you say to her?
It's not the end. It's just the beginning, and it's like a new lease of life. That's definitely how I've seen mine. Like, it's completely changed my perspective on everything. And I say this like I'm very humble and grateful now. The Liv pre-stoma, I was ungrateful. Like, I wasn't a grateful person. And sometimes I think maybe I wasn't the nicest person to be around. I was probably always focusing on like negative things. And I think post-stoma, it's really woken me up to what matters and what I want out of life, and be a nice person, because then nice things come to you.
Absolutely. You're the energy you exude. You can bring it back to you completely.
100%.
It really changes your perspective on things in life. And sometimes we do need to get a real shock to the system to kind of really realize maybe where we were wrong previously and where we now see more of the light. Absolutely. So that's fantastic information for people to share. I want to tell the story of your bag filling up while you were running and how you adapted to that. If you'd like to share that story, because that is a really, really good story.
Oh God, that was a peak life moment.
Yeah.
That was so bad. So I went on a run. I got to, I think I was like 6K in, and I can feel when my stoma's gonna go. I could feel a bubbling sensation in my stomach, and I was like, oh shit, I was like, this is not gonna go well. Anyway, I thought, I've got to get this run done. It's the last run before my race. Like, I've got to do it. I got to, like, there's a park. I parked like a park with like a massive like out bit, and I was just running around this out bit. It was like 6:15 in the morning, so I did a sunrise run because I thought it'd be nice to see sunrise, you know, do something wholesome. Anyway, I get halfway round, I then feel the bubble just pop, and I was like, oh no, like it's coming right now. And then my stoma bag just inflated full of shit, and I looked down at it and I was like, I can't leave this. Like, if I leave it and I keep running, it's either going to pop literally off my stomach. There's nothing I can do. And you see me in the video, I don't know if you see, but my eyes are like looking like this. And that was me like scouting out, like if there was anyone near me. And I was just like this, like, looking. And I was like, okay, quickly. I literally pulled my run vest off and I was like changing it on the floor. And then it wasn't till I got back up, I was like, what have I just done? Like, this is mad. I'm changing my stoma like round Lydia Park. Like, this is crazy. And then I'm stood there with the bag and I'm like, okay, put it in my bag, and kept running. And then it's not till like a 1K after, I'm like, how do I do this? Like, a lot of people would stop running at that point. But I think that's the mindset thing, is like, well, like, is what it is. Keep going and get the job done. That's my biggest saying, is just get the job done.
It's a great way to look at it because it is what it is. You know, you can't let these things actually stop you. You know, you just
Yeah.
have to survive, adapt, get through it and go. And I know I said earlier that I couldn't remember the last time that I got a leak, but it's just after flashed back into my head what you said. I was in Patagonia doing a hike in the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my life.
Hmm.
And I just got a bit of an itch on the side of my stomach. And I was like, no,
Not now.
literally pulled up my t-shirt. There's no one around. And I was like, oh, now what I wear this black band around it that kind of protects the bag or whatever, keeps it tidy for me. And
Hmm.
it had just caught everything. So my clothes were fine. Everything was fine. And I'd gotten to the point where I was so cocky. I kind of did. Sometimes I don't bring supplies with me. Like I'm really, really, yeah, I know, I've been living life on the edge, right? And I was like, I bet you I've got nothing in the bag. And I looked in and I just had a thing tucked into a pocket. And I was like, oh my God, thank you, thank
Thank
you, thank you.
God.
Middle of Patagonia, taking the top off. And there was no one around for miles from what I could see. Suddenly I heard people talking and I was like, oh, typical. So I'm hiding in behind a bush with my top off, trying to make sure that when I'm taking it off, I don't get it on my clothes.
Yeah.
And I had to laugh. In the middle of it, I was like, this is absolutely ludicrous. If they look into the bush and see me doing this, they're going to be like, what is wrong with that fella? But just like that, put it into a little nappy sack, threw it in the bag, went back on my hike. You just, it is what it is. You just got to power on and get through it.
Yeah. Just, I think, don't think too deeply about it in the moment. And then after, you just laugh it off.
Yeah.
Like, I went, finished my run and I was running to the gym. I went in the gym and I told like a couple of the people I train with, they were like, how do you cope with this? And I was like, dunno, just keep going. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. I was like, just laugh it off at the end.
Completely. All you can do is take action. Take action to make your life
Yeah.
easier and get through whatever happens. So yeah, no, it's beautiful advice for people. But before we kind of finish things off, is there any advice you'd like to share with anyone?
In terms of just general stoma.
Yeah, absolutely. It's stoma, mindset, things that you do on a daily basis that possibly help you overcome any obstacle that comes in your way.
I think definitely mindset is everything. Having a positive mindset makes everything easier. And I know like it's easier said than done, but yeah, try and take positives out of every situation. Even like small wins, I definitely think like, especially after you're up, celebrate the small wins, like changing your first bag and like going on that first walk, the first run. Like the first run I ever went on, I cried the whole way. But that was just like pure gratitude that, my body can now do that. And yeah, just don't take anything for granted because you never know.
Yeah, it's like a runner's high, but also a life high at the same time. You're like, woo,
Yeah.
I'm back. Let's go.
I'm back.
But that one question that I love to ask people, because I love getting their perspective on it, is what does happiness mean to you?
100% means having my life back and just being able to live and have all these great opportunities come in this way, which is exciting. And just like the freedom to live and not rely on medication and things like that. It's definitely the meaning for me.
And it's absolutely beautiful. It's the ability to achieve and the ability to endeavor in whatever you actually want to do. And the stoma gives you the freedom to do that. So yeah, it's a beautiful perspective and beautiful understanding of the opportunities it now allows us. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. That was episode 40 of The Survival Project. Massive thanks to Liv for coming on, sharing her story, and what an inspirational lady she is. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, comment, subscribe. It all helps me grow the podcast and get it to more ears. I really appreciate your support and being here. Next week, episode 41 with Ian Goldstein. Ian has lived with Crohn's disease, lives in America, and gives us a deep insight on what it's like to actually be sick in the American healthcare system, dealing with insurance, and all the other pitfalls that come with it. I'll see you next week.